What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Right here I have two really cool animals to show you. This first one here, this is the rare Canis venus smalleri, also known as Molly or Small. She has two names. Anyways, this is a rare creature and it's very vicious. Don't be fooled. This is one of the scariest creatures on the planet. This right here is the rare red velvety anteater. You can tell by the tongue. You can see it right there. So anteater, this is called the Lord of Darkness. That's its common name. But anyways, these are going to be sitting with me while I talk. Hope you guys don't mind. Anyways, let me cut to the chase. You guys know what the deal is. You know this is a herping channel. It always will be, primarily herping, because reptiles and amphibians interest me. They excite me. That's my favorite thing. But I do want to do more aquatic stuff because I live right on the bay. I have access to the ocean. I've recently been practicing a lot of freediving. I'm not an expert or anything. I'm just self-taught. But I feel that I'm getting pretty good at it. So I'm able to, because of that, I'm able to go into some really cool places. Plus, with work, I do a lot of restoration work around springs and rivers. And on the weekends, sometimes part-time, I'll do kayak tours to make some extra money. And just because I love it, because I get to go to some awesome places. Without any further ado, let's do it. I want to show you guys a little glimpse into the Floridian aquifer. Alrighty guys, welcome to this underwater adventure that we're about to take. You're going to have to forgive me if you hear the odd cockatoo or dog barking in the background, because I'm just recording this on my phone in my house without a microphone. So take it for what it is. But anyways, let's get right into it. So I'll start out by telling you guys like what a spring actually is. So this is the first one that I visited this day. A spring is basically an underwater cavern. And you see all this rock here, so that's what we call limestone. And limestone is what makes up the bedrock in Florida. So underneath all the sediment, all the dirt, all the sand, all the clay, you have this limestone foundation throughout Florida. And underneath that limestone, you have a network of caverns that there's just tons and tons of groundwater that seep through the sediment all the way down through the rock. It just creates this gushing underground river that is just ripping through those rocks and carving out these tunnels. And that's what the aquifer is. It's just this underground river system. Alright, so in some places like that, you're bound to have the water, as it gains momentum, it's going to like put force on some of that rock. And so you have places like this that is basically just a thin place in the limestone where the water has managed to burst through. And over time, it's carved it out and made this beautiful spring, this underground cave, where it's putting out millions of gallons of water a day. Some of these springs put out upwards of 65 million gallons a day. It's pretty insane. Florida actually has the world's largest spring. It's called Wakulla Spring. And Wakulla Spring, I forget how much it puts out daily, but it's freaking huge. Just massive caverns that are just pumping out that water. So you can see here I'm swimming in. I'm still getting warmed up here. I'm doing all this free diving, which I don't recommend any kind of cave diving. Don't try it. But I have, like I said, I'm self-taught and I feel pretty comfortable with this. I know my own limits. You can see all these fish, these bluegill, largemouth bass. Pretty wild how they're just floating there, and you can't really grasp it on video just how clear that water is, but it literally looks like you're flying. But you can see those bluegill are actually almost black, and I don't know why that is, but I think it's probably has something to do with the fact that they stay in that cave so much. You can see I come up here for a breath. This spring is actually right underneath a diving board, so when you go in, you got to be careful not to get jumped on. So you can see I'm coming in here from a different angle, trying to find the best way to get in there for maximum breath hold. And like I was saying, I'm self-taught, and I think part of the reason I've been able to progress so quickly with my freediving is because I sink like a rock. I'm not actually a fantastic swimmer. You'll see in a lot of these videos, all I'm doing is sinking and then crawling along the bottom. So it works out if you're a freediver, because once you get down there, you don't have to use much energy to move around. You just got to pull yourself along the rocks. So that's what I'm doing. I'm being very slow and deliberate, just pulling myself along the limestone. Can't get too worked up. You can see I think I put my hand on the limestone here. It's just so ancient looking. This cave is millions of years old, and you know, it's not uncommon to find fossils and things like this. Those cinder blocks, however, are not natural. You can see right here I find a piece of a brick that I thought was a mammoth tooth, but I was very wrong. So right here, going back into another cave, it's like a little pocket in the side of a bluff. Again, it's all limestone. You know, I can't stress enough, don't try this, don't try any of this. I actually was working this day. I work, right now I do it part-time, but in the summers I work on the weekends for cold water excursions as a tour guide. So I have a group of tourists with me that I'm showing around, and it's pretty fun getting to show them all this stuff. It's really incredible. If you guys are ever down in the Florida Panhandle, check with Cold Water Excursions, try to book a tour, because and I don't get anything out of saying this, like I'm not getting paid to say this or anything like that. I really do enjoy working for them. Like, it's not even work, I just do it out of the fun factor. Like, you get to see this. So I mean, they have a lot of equipment that's included in the package. Like, if you book a tour, then you get the little Sea-Doo sea scooters to use, and you know, snorkel gear, GoPros, the whole 9 yards. So it's a lot of fun. You can see I just put my hand on the limestone there. It's like putting your hand on the beating heart of the earth. It's such a cool feeling. Coming back up for a breath. There's my group up there hanging at the surface. Here's another little cave. I believe this one's called Twin Caves, and I didn't really go in there much because I was kicking up all the sediment, and it just wasn't as picturesque as the other ones. This one is called, what was this one called? Hole in the Wall, I think. You can see there's some, I had a flashlight for this one because it was so massive and I wouldn't be able to see. So I was pretty warmed up by this point in the day, and I'm able to hold my breath a little longer. You can see I'm just looking around. And I came back out right there because I was not quite ready to go all the way in there. But this cave is probably about, I don't know, 30 feet down, maybe, to the entrance. It's maybe not quite that far to the entrance, but once you get in there, it goes down for a significant distance, which you're about to see. So I am still freediving. All this is freediving. I'm just pulling myself down into that cavern. You can see all this debris in there. And like I was saying, I know how far I can push my body without me blacking out, so I'm always super careful, and you know, I don't advise doing any kind of cave diving. I don't, you know, it's sketchy enough doing it with an air source. Without, it's just a whole nother level of danger, and you know, it's not worth it for a lot of people. But you know, having said that, I do enjoy freediving, and I think I'm pretty good at doing it safely. So again, there's my part of my group up there. they were watching. Had to show out a little bit. So right here, I'm actually going into a cave with my group, showing them a hole in the side of a limestone bluff, and they were freaking out. I'm gonna send this video to them if I still have their email. I'm a little late on doing that, but you can see just how cool this is. I had the camera mounted on top of my mask, and my mask was on top of my head, so I didn't get the best footage of this, but you can see how far this thing goes back. You end up seeing some bats, some cool spiders. So yeah, the group was kind of freaking out a little bit at times, but you know, getting to show them this was just such an honor. And you know, that's the whole reason I do videos as well, just to show people the natural world. I think it's so amazing. You can see right there, we just saw a bat. Right there, actually, yeah. So that bat flew and kind of gave us a spook. But felt bad about disturbing the little guy, but we'll see him fly by again in just a moment. Right there. But yeah, so we swam around in here for a little bit, and I'd never been in this cave before, so I was kind of winging it, but we made it out safe. But this footage right here is actually from a different day. This is at a spring along Econfina Creek. And you can see how beautiful this is. But with this dive here, I was just trying to see how long I could stay down there, because it had been a little bit since I've been freediving. So I was kind of just moving real slow. Now with this cave, with this spring, it's so confined that it's actually pushing you really hard. You can see I just let go and got shot right back out. So that's pretty common with these springs. They're just pushing so much water out that it's really hard to hang on or even get into the mouth of the cave. So more often than not, you get shot back out. And that can be dangerous because, of course, if you do get in there and it pins you up against the wall, then it can be pretty hard to get out. So right there, I was just messing with that little crawfish. Actually, it was a big crawfish, but you can see I'm not in the spring anymore. I'm actually in the creek itself. It's got all those tannins in it. Still crystal clear water, but all the leaves from the trees that are decaying in there basically turns the water into tea. And it has this stained look to it, which I think looks awesome. Especially when you have it in this really clear water, it just looks so eerie. I'm actually looking for fossils right here because there's a lot of them in that limestone. Lots of Miocene fossils. The Miocene period is back when Florida was actually underwater, when it was ocean floor. So that limestone exposure is essentially what's left over from the ancient ocean floor. So here we just cut to a different river, and at this river we're in a nice shallow, fast-moving part right here, and I spied this beautiful brown water snake that had just caught a catfish. I actually saw him swim from the opposite bank over to where I was, and he just settled down under this log and started devouring that thing. So I took the opportunity to video it, and got some pretty cool shots. You can see him wrestling it there. So brown water snakes are actually catfish specialists, which means their preferred meal, their preferred prey item is these catfish. I think this is a young channel cat, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you would think that catfish would be one of the more unappetizing fish for a snake to eat because of those spines that you can see sticking out of their sides right there. And it's interesting with these brown water snakes, they're so well adapted to eating these catfish that sometimes the spines will actually protrude from their sides. after they've swallowed the fish, and miraculously somehow it doesn't seem to affect them that bad. I don't know if you guys can hear it here, but you can actually hear that grunting sound is the catfish. If you listen closely, you could hear them making a grunting sound, and they actually do that by moving their pectoral fins. Those big bony blades they have attached to them rub against the bone when they wiggle them, so it makes a grunting sound that's meant to scare away predators when they're in distress. They're not the only fish that does that, but it's pretty wild.